Welcome to Purpose with Pals, your go-to podcast for unlocking life's true purpose. Join us as we dive deep into the compelling life narratives of guests from all walks of life. Your host, Pals, will guide you on your own journey of self-discovery.
Hello everyone and welcome to the show Purpose with Pals. I'm your BFF Pals and I'm here to bring you incredible guests who will help you decode the purpose of your life. Let's embark on this journey together and discover what truly drives us. Today's show is really special because we will be focusing on mental health. In recent times, there is a lot of concern about India's young population that is under a lot of stress. A recent study claims that every third person in India is struggling with stress. That means 77% of Indians experience at least a symptom of stress regularly. And yet, there is a lot of stigma around seeking mental health and emotional well-being. And that is why we have today on the show Jaini Nandu. Jaini Nandu is a top psychologist from Mumbai. She's the founder and CEO of Mindsight Clinics. Other than being a mental health specialist, she also runs a DIY kids startup. But that's not all. The most interesting thing about her is that she picks up a skill every year. She can skate, but she's also a licensed shooter. She is also learning how to fly a real plane. We will talk about all her varied interests and seek her advice on love, life, and career. Welcome, Jenny, on the show. We are delighted to have you.
Thank you so much for the lovely introduction. And it's absolutely an honor to be on your show. Thank you for inviting me. And yes, definitely, let's take this further.
Thank you, Jenny. I just want to give an overview of what we'll be covering in today's show. We will understand Jenny's early influences and what led her to choosing psychology as her field and opening Mindsight Clinics across Maharashtra, Pune, and Mumbai. We will talk about her major pivots and turning points in her career journey. We will also talk about mental health. We will cover the topics like workplace anxieties, the stress of being unemployed at times, and even how to deal with failure. We will focus on her current role as the founder and CEO of Mindsight Clinic and end the show with her favorite books, movies, and song recommendations. So that's what we have. So stay tuned till the end. But to start right now, I think we will start in Jenny's way to start the show. And she has something in mind for us. So why don't you go ahead, Jenny?
Right. So I want you all viewers to do this with me. It's just a 1 minute short meditation. And let's be here in the present state. Let's be aware of our thoughts, feelings, actions, the way we think, the way we feel, the way we process our things, and then let's take it up further. So if you're comfortable, close your eyes. That helps you connect with yourself better. Breathe in and breathe out. Breathe in and breathe out. Just try and hear your heartbeat. Think of who you are. And every day we're wearing so many masks. A mask of a child, sister, partner, parent, employee, boss. Amidst all these masks, we often forget who we really even are, what we really like doing. Let's try remember and being more in sync with ourselves, more connected with who we are. When you can hear your heartbeat again, you can open your eyes.
That was really nice, I think, to start. A great note to kind of start on. And let's start with, I think, the most interesting facet about you, which is your hobbies and art, skating, shooting, flying a plane. How do you maintain and follow up on these varied activities and interests? And how do you get the time to do all of it?
So I think time is very, very subjective, right? Like if you really want to do something, you will always make time to do it. I want to do different things. I hate monotony, so I want to keep my day interesting and enticing. So I keep doing different things. And I always believe in wanting to have a space where I never feel bored. And if I feel bored, I have 100 other things to do so that I don't have the time to feel bored. So that's my ideology.
Great, that's great. So, what advice do you have for like people who are watching or listening in? How do they kind of like bring in a certain kind of hobbies that help them give like bring in some positivity in their lives, whether it is dealing with stress at workplace or like other kinds of stresses.
Yeah. So to get your mind off something and do something meaningful and satisfying is the best thing that one can do. And that's exactly what a hobby is. Bringing in hobbies in life sort of bring in a lot of different perceptions, thought processes, lots of feelings, excitement, happiness, and sense of satisfaction and achievement. Now, all these words seem really, really huge, but trust me when I say this, when you do something out of your day, even that is cooking a meal or something that you don't do in your routine and do something different, you would feel happy. That, hey, I tried something new, hey, I did something new. Now, when you're trying to do something different, all your focus is over there. You're thinking not the regular things, you're trying something new, you're exploring, and that's cutting you from stress. That's making you a different person in that moment. You're learning, you're becoming a child again, where everything was a blank slate, and now you're putting things to yourself. And I think everyone must have hobbies that they keep. As a child, we've done so much in life. As a child, we would do 100 things. And unfortunately, these things just sort of die out when you become adults. And you see the happiness index for those people who indulge into hobbies or spending time in nature is way higher than those who do just office to home and home to office. So I would highly recommend, please find the things that really entice you, things that you've forgotten that you did as a child, or maybe not. Try doing different things. Enroll yourself in 5 different experiences, see which one entices you the most, and then go ahead with it. It's okay. Some you might like, some you might not, but keep the search on.
That's a great perspective, and I think it just like I relate to it as well, because I think as a child I used to love doing a lot of art and craft and painting kind of a thing, and then over time it just got like it just went away with the yeah. So and I'm also trying to kind of get back to like some of it. Doodling like is something that I really like, so that's something I've been
That's
doing.
lovely. I'm sending you some DIY.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the DIY startup before we get into the Mindsight Clinic?
Right. So DIY was a dream ever since I think a very long time. So I've always wanted to be independent. And I remember in my 8th grade, I used to take these art classes for children because I used to love art so, so much. In graphology, there was a drawing and a doodle analysis aspect. So, through drawings, I would also understand about what's going on with the child's mind subconsciously, if there are any emotional triggers, etc. But this was just a heads up that I would get with no background of psychology back then. And I would learn a lot of different kinds of arts myself. I still remember my company then was called as Creatives. There is no end to your creativity. I so clearly remember that. And I used to teach about 108 kinds of art and craft activities. And in my 10th grade, I would host these summer camps for children. And then I realized that, I can't always be there everywhere to teach somebody or to do something. And that's where the whole DIY kit idea came to my mind. At that time, it wasn't very prevalent. This is about 8, 9 years ago.
Wow,
And I
wonderful.
think a DIY kit is like the biggest stress buster. I love creating different products, different things, and just art is amazing and fun for me.
That's really interesting because you started your journey like that early, like
Yeah, I did.
and found your
Yes.
interest as well. So yeah, let's talk about the transition now. Like transitioning from a very art-centric kind of a feel to psychology?
So I'm the only child of my parents, and my father has a business of we're manufacturers and ethnic wear and wholesalers. So I would only think that I'm going to pursue fashion and take over daddy's business, and so business was the only option anyway. Like that's what I would also want to do. So fashion was always on my mind, and therefore art would make a lot of sense when it came to fashion because creativity. Of course, both the things are very different, but that's how I would see it. And then when I got introduced to psychology, in fact, my parents had the biggest role to play. I would always, I feel, understand people, and this subject would always interest me. When I started doing these different courses, so I then pursued graphology, then I did NLP, Gestalt. So these courses I started doing from my 10th grade. And that's how I started getting an edge in understanding towards psychology and mental health. And that's where I found that, okay, this is my perfect thing. Like I really had an interest in it. But my parents pushed me to pursue psychology. They were like, it's going to help you in your life, it's going to help people around you, you're just going to make this place a better place.
Interesting. And I remember when we were talking first, you spoke about how you started Mindsight Clinics with like, a little investment, and like, if you could tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey, and I think inspire a few entrepreneurs who are like kind of listening in at this point.
Yeah. So I had taken about so with these art classes and everything, I had about 5 lakh rupees saved then, and I think I must have taken about a 1 or 2 more lakh from my father. My father has a school in Bhayandar, which is a community school. He's a trustee over there. So I used to be there with a psychologist, with the counselor over there. And that's where I thought that I'll start my first branch when I was 18 at Bhayandar. Of course, I couldn't practice at that time because I didn't have my degree. I would hire these other psychologists and get them on board. And, I would learn how to practically do businesses because everybody from my house comes from a traditional background and traditional business family. So nobody really knew the new age techniques of marketing and social media and website. It was all very new. And I was also very young back then, maybe. And that's how the whole play would come through. Within 6 months, I returned the money that I had taken from daddy, and those children who would have issues in school would then come to the center, and that's how we would counsel. So that was my idea. It didn't really work out as much over there. We would break even by the end of the year, and I planned to move out. So in Bhayandar, I used to charge 500 rupees a session. When I moved to Malad, we used to charge 2,000 rupees a session. So there was quite a jump with how we charge, and also it became more sustainable for us. Malad started doing very, very well. In the first 6 months itself, we started our next center into Kemp's Corner. And Malad was a huge office. It's a 4,000 square feet office. So the quantums were high. And then we moved to Kemp's Corner and all the other places accordingly.
Wow, wow. I think it's fascinating to listen to the journey. So what has been the most fulfilling part of your career journey so far for you?
So I think fulfilling is, when I wouldn't use the word help because I feel that puts you in authority. But I feel in sessions when somebody gets what they want and when they come back with a smile and say that, I feel I've gotten something that I've always desired for. I think that moment beats everything. Anybody who walks into this door is not coming because they're happy. They're coming with a problem. So, it's sort of our job to sort of help them reach their own goal. And when that works through, that's the best feeling.
So yeah, thanks, Jenny, for telling us why you do what you do and what it means to you as well. Now, if we could go a little bit deeper into the subject of mental health, and my essential question that I want to drive: how should one go about finding their own purpose in life?
Huh. So I think finding your own purpose is a very corporatized way of putting things. What really is purpose, right? Okay, definitely everybody has a purpose, and everybody also has multiple purposes, right? Now, at the end, everyone wants happiness, satisfaction, peace. That's standard for everyone. But it's everybody's way as to how they want to achieve it. How is it that they want to go there? How is it that they want to reach? And that is something that you find by asking yourself. But to reach there are many other purposes in life that you have. And that is to I think the best way to go ahead is sit with yourself, ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing, grade yourself with literally everything you're doing. From drinking this water. Why am I drinking this water? Because why? Okay, I want to stay alive. Why do I want to stay alive? What is it that I want to do? But that can also lead to overthinking. So do it with somebody who has expertise or guidance. So that can help you get to the right path. But definitely the smaller purposes, I think it's all about being more mindful as to why you do what do you want out of it.
Got it. Got it. And
And
how,
not everyone may really have a huge purpose or a big purpose. A purpose can also be something like, okay, I just want to live my life happily. That's a good enough purpose. It doesn't always have to be about social work or social reforms, or it doesn't have to be always something that's glorified.
got it. Got it. And how important is mental health, well-being, or mindset in this journey? And how do you kind of maintain a positive outlook as you go about it?
So we are who we are only by the way we think. So that answers that your mental health is so important because you are only who you are with the way you think. So if you don't think in the right way, that's who you are. And if you think in a more rational way, then this is who you are. So who you are is equally proportional to how you think. And therefore, it is the absolute important
So
aspect
how
of your
do you
life.
cultivate it? Like, so if you're feeling lost or going through a terrible time, or like, something is not working out. So how do you kind of shift that mindset and, come to a more positive space of being?
Yeah. So I've done a couple of, therapies with regards to psychotherapies. The one therapy that I find the most amazing and relatable is art. And I think I've been living by it since the longest time. Therapy. And I'm just going to talk a little about it so that I think people can also take use of it if they feel that's right. So our thoughts are all that we have. And very few thoughts are facts throughout the day. हम जो भी बातें करते हैं, it's majorly all belief systems. मुझे लगता है ये होगा. I feel that this is what will happen. I want people to like me. I feel that, if it is sunny, then I will feel happier. So these are all beliefs, right? These are not factual statements. And our problems only arise with a belief system. Now, I'm not saying all belief systems are wrong, but our problems can only and only arrive around belief systems. Because facts, you will never have a problem. This is an iPhone, you will never have a problem. But I say this is a good iPhone is a belief. That's where you will debate. No, okay, Android is better. So my point is that not all belief systems and not all belief systems are a problem, and not all belief systems are not a problem. Now, wherever you feel there's a problem in your life, for example, I want everyone to love me and appreciate me. A lot of people have this. I'm not okay with people speaking to me in a rude manner. So we may presume that, these things are not big enough, but we have a fight with somebody or we have a disagreement with somebody. These are only the things that come. Oh, how could she say? How could he say this? This is not how they're supposed to treat me, etc., etc. Now, fair, that's your boundary, right? But the fact that you don't have control on them is also the truth. So you take two aspects. So one out of your belief system is an irrational belief and a rational belief. So I want everyone to love and appreciate me is an irrational belief because, hey, that's not possible. So if I have this as my irrational belief, I'm going to convert it into a belief by saying that some people will like me, some people will dislike me, and I'm okay with it. I'm okay with people liking me and disliking me. So my point is that if you're having a problem, try and understand what the problem is and see whether it is a rational statement or an irrational statement.
So thanks, Jenny, for putting that in perspective. And we'll just move on to more specific techniques that we can adopt, whether it is art therapy, color therapy, or even making a vision board to help us visualize, specifically in terms of our purpose, our career. How do you suggest we go about that?
All the therapies are amazing, right? Now, and also at Mindsight, we make sure that every therapist learns a couple of therapies such as NLP, Gestalt, because you don't know which therapy works with which person and works for what problem. Now, for example, a color therapy would work for a certain issue, but wouldn't work for a certain issue, or an art therapy likewise. But every therapy is great in itself, right? One of the therapies that I have learned and I have been using to the optimum, even basically on an everyday use to keep my sanity, is REBT. That's Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. This is a brilliant therapy that speaks about our belief systems, right? How much in the day we think, which is related to our beliefs. Now, the word belief seems very, mysterious, but we don't realize that the smallest things, the smallest ways we operate in our day-to-day life is because of the way we believe and because of our belief systems. Now, how are these belief systems formed? Belief systems are formed by experiences or by others' experiences or by the stories that people have told us. These are the ways belief systems are formed. For example, people must love and approve of me is a belief, right? My husband should treat me a certain way, or my partner should treat me a certain way. What is it? It's a belief. There's no rule book to it, right? It's a belief. Now, not all beliefs are a problem, and not all beliefs are not a problem. So some beliefs that you feel that are hampering you should be worked on, and some that aren't should be just left for what they are as. Now, when you have a fight with somebody, when you go back and think that what affected you in that fight, you will then see a thin line of a belief system. For example, let's say I had a fight with my friend and she wanted to go to this restaurant, I wanted to go to this restaurant. I mean, as petty as it may sound, my belief system at the end could have been that this was my turn to decide, and so she should have agreed to what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say here that is that I want to have control on where we go tonight. This is my basic belief system. Fair, I want to have control, that's up to me, but it's not necessary that I can control the other person. Now, that's where the problem comes through. Now, in our belief systems, there are two things that one must see. One is an irrational belief, and the other one is a rational belief. Rational is anything which is logical, realistic, and practical. For example, I want others to listen to me. I want my best friend to listen to me. Is it practical all the time? If I want them to always listen to me, is that fair? Is that realistic? Not sure. Is that logical? No. Is that practical? No. So for example, another example, that I want everyone to love and approve of me. Is that realistic? Is that logical? So I'm going to try and convert my irrational belief to my rational belief that I want everyone to love and approve of me. No. It's okay for people to like and dislike me. It's okay for people to love me. It's okay for people to not love me. It's okay for people to approve me. It's okay for people to not approve me. The moment you bring yourself to an awareness of, hey, this is also possible and this is realistic, a lot of changes, a lot of narratives inside will change for you. When you say that I want my best friend to always listen to me, and if I want to go to this restaurant, this should happen, this must happen. Hey, this is what I want to do, but I'm also going out with her, so I need to consider both. I mean, of course, this was a very, very petty, small example that I've taken, but we don't realize that fights begin with these small things and then lead to bigger things. So try and ask yourself, what are your belief systems that are irrational? One of the belief systems that I struggled with for the longest times was I wasn't okay if people spoke to me in a disrespectful manner. Now, there was a thin line understanding what is disrespect really. For them, this would just be a regular conversation. But for me, I wouldn't be okay with it. That, hey, how could you say something like that? Right? So how I learned by doing this, how I learned by being okay with, I'm not saying I'm okay with disrespect, but how I learned to create a boundary is that when somebody says something like that to me, I would tell them that, hey, I don't like you speaking to me like this. And I tell myself that I can't control how others speak to me always. And so if they speak to me like that, that doesn't mean I am somebody or I am lowering myself self-worth, or it doesn't mean anything else. It just means that I'm not okay with it and I need to communicate that to them. And that's about it. So my point being, you have to rationalize your irrational belief systems to keep your sanity is what works the best for me. And so I would recommend this as well.
I think that really helps
Also,
and put things in
yeah.
perspective because sometimes, the way like in a workplace also, when somebody gives you a certain amount of feedback and that feedback can also not go very well with you, especially for if you're in a creative field. So if you could also contextualize in a workplace scenario and give an example, I think that would be great.
Right. So let's say the manager comes and tells you that your work for this month hasn't been great, right? And maybe there could be 100 other agendas behind it. how are you supposed to feel that, hey, he shouldn't have come and told me something like this? B, why did he say that in front of everyone? This is insulting. There could be multiple other situations that you must be feeling. Now, fair, I accepted that you're feeling this way. I'm not asking you to discount your feelings. I'm not asking you to always be happy or not feel sad or not feel angry. No, feel all these emotions. These emotions are meant to be felt, but don't prolong these emotions till a point that affects you. Right now, when the manager is doing all of this, my first belief system was that I am doing my work, still he's not seeing it, and how dare he come and speaks to me like that? So A, I can't control what he says. B, if he thinks that I'm doing this, maybe I can show this to him that, hey, this is not what it is, but that's about it. And then I have to let it go. I can't control how the manager thinks about me. I can't control how the manager sees me, because I can try my level best to show him what I want to show him. But at the end, that's on him to believe how he wants to believe. Now, this is not about giving up, but this is all about accepting the reality that this is realistic. मैं मेरे तरफ से सब कुछ कर सकती हूँ, but उसके बाद I don't have control over it. We try to control things, and that's where it creates problem. In the second narrative, the option is that he shouldn't have said this in front of everybody. Fair, and you can go and have a communication or a conversation with him where you tell him that, hey, I'm not okay with you telling me in front of everyone. So please, I would really request you to call me in person and say that to me. And that's how you rationalize it, that this was not in my control. This is something that was unexpected. I didn't know. I didn't have much authority over this. It happened. Fine. The next time I can take charge of it. And the fact that I didn't like it, and that's about it.
Yeah, no, makes sense. I think the takeaways that I'm taking from it is like, do your best. Understand that you can't really, control the situation. So some sort of acceptance. However, communicate your perspective in a more, say assertive
Absolutely.
manner, and just making it clear of like, what your boundary is, and helping the other person also come to that level and understand where they probably can help you level up the
Yes.
relationship in that sense.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It just opens the whole world to you, right? Because you're thinking in a more realistic manner.
Right.
We all like to call ourselves rational, practical people, but the question is that, are we really? Try to do this homework. Try and put down your irrational beliefs on a piece of paper that bother you the most and see what comes through.
Got it. This is really helpful. Like, we spoke a little bit about workplace anxiety. I want to go a little bit deeper into, like, sometimes you are not able to say no, or you find it difficult to say no. So how do you kind of navigate that? How do you say no in personal space, or how do you say no to, like, say, free work if you're a freelancer?
Brilliant problem. Brilliant problem. So the I think a lot of people in our circle that we would know of who have major trouble saying no. Now, what happens? Let me go back to the REBT bit and let me tell you that what happens when you say no? What threat do you have to yourself when you say no? What stops you from saying no, right? Now, the most common answer is, I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable. But hey, of course, because you're the one saying no, and that's making you feel a certain way. So what is it that's making you feel a certain way? Now, that's going back to your beliefs. I don't want to hurt the other person. So that's people's pleaser, or that could be something else or whatever. Again, rationalize it. See, does that make sense? Is that an irrational statement? Is that a rational statement? Can you always please everyone? Can you not? Can you always make everyone happy, or that particular person happy? Can you make sure that you never hurt that person? Is it okay to put yourself second and them first? Would you always want to do this? Why are you doing this? At what cost? Ask yourself these questions and rationalize it. It'll always make you in a better place. I vouch for this therapy.
Wow, that's a nice perspective, and like, helps in kind of understanding how to approach certain situations. And a lot of times, like, I feel that I am not able to say no very easily, because I don't know, I'm if I'm 100% people pleaser, but I don't want to, like, maybe enter into that conflict zone. And
Right.
and yeah, it is kind of difficult, but you have to find a way to, like, rationalize it and deal with it in that manner.
And
uh,
I think everybody needs to know how they want to see themselves, right? What kind of a person do you want to be? I imagine a lot is journaling. That is one thing. You won't believe, in my 8th grade, I had written 10 years from now. It's just played through literally like that. I literally mentioned what year I wanted to get married, and that happened. How much did I want to make? What I wanted to do academically. Everything has been going per plan. And it's fine even if it doesn't go as per plan. But my point is that I have my 10 years ahead of me. I can see how they look like. I want to know what it looks like.
Great, this is great. Okay, so moving a little bit towards deeper problems of unemployment and depression is what I wanted to kind of talk a little bit more about. So how do you kind of deal with failures or setbacks or unemployment or something which is not working out in your life? And what should be your approach when you're going through a tough phase in your life?
Right. So honestly, a tough phase is definitely too tough to pass. But what do you do about it? Do you sit and sulk? Do you overthink? What do you do about it? So there are two types of people, right? One who will just talk about the problem, and they're going to just feel like helpless maybe, and they're just like, okay, I'm stuck, I'm in a loop, because they can't see beyond that problem. And then there's another kind of people who are more solution focused, where, A, this is the problem. A, B, C, D, E are my solutions. If I do this, this happens. If I do that, happens. And if I do this, again, whatever happens. So you have to decide the kind of person you want it to be. Everybody goes through problems. Everybody has problems. Somebody has big, somebody has small. What is it that you want to do with it? Do you want to sit and cry about it? Of course, not every problem can be solvable within minutes or days. Some might take longer time, some might take shorter time. Some problems you have less control on, some problems you have more control on. Everything has a lot of situation involved, so it's not always in your control. The problems that are in your control, definitely you can do much about it. But the ones that aren't in your control, see what's best you can do within that. Right now, if you are unemployed, look for a side hustle that you can do. Maybe at that time, see what's more important for you, the lower job, or the time, or the fact that you want to wait it out to get a better opportunity. So weigh your times, right? Like, there can be no correct answer to it, because that time, what you're going through, only you can know. Who else can tell you? Who am I to tell you that, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be thinking about unemployment? But what if there's somebody who's really, really sick in the family and they need money, right? How can anybody say what should one do? But I can only say that you can look at the best possibilities and best opportunities. Just don't feel stuck in that loop, and try and see life beyond that particular problem. The problem is not the end of everything.
Because sometimes you're so deep into the problem and you're so into it that you're not able to look beyond and be grateful about other things that might be working for you, or understand the situation from maybe a bird's eye perspective. So I think that would help. So yeah. Okay, so moving on to how do you kind of process sadness or depression, or how do you know when you're going through it, or how do you kind of approach it?
So sadness is fine. I think it's a healthy negative emotion. If you're feeling happy, there are times you're also going to feel sad. You're going to feel frustrated, angry, envious. Great, no problem. These are emotions to feel. Feel them. That's fine. Let them just not overpower you, right? Talking about depression, there are two kinds of depression. So one is functional and the other one is dysfunctional depression. In a functional depression, the person might seem absolutely normal. They're talking to you, everything seems fine, but you don't know what's happening inside, right? That's where the real challenge is, in their mind, inside. The other bit of it is dysfunctional depression. When you look at the person and, you can say that, hey, something's up. That they're crying all the time, they're not able to hold themselves together, or the fact that, they're unable to put their feelings, they're not able to process, and emotionally unstable, thought process is a little disoriented. These are all dysfunctional depressions. Now, how do you know when you're feeling depressed is a brilliant question. When you feel, when you feel you can't feel emotions as much as you could before. For example, you're feeling sad or numb for the longest time, hey, something's up. And there's something called as clinical depression. That's only after 6 months of being depressed and certified by a therapist. So do not use the word depression and, anxiety or anything just randomly. Maybe always get it checked first. There are these brilliant psychometric tests available that help you understand what problems you may be going through, but these tests help you undermine what exactly is going on.
Sometimes we are in the going through these motions and do not know exactly how do we kind of deal with it, who do we approach, and this does help.
So this is not just with emotions, and this is just not a one-day situation. When you're feeling like this for an overall longer period of time, when you feel like, I would normally feel happy or excited in this situation, but I'm not feeling, and I'm feeling just sad and numb. Okay, that's like a highlighting point where you need to go see somebody. When you think you're in a loop of thoughts where you're not able to move out, see somebody. When you feel like you suddenly want to asocialize, you want to just be aloof within your own room in dark spaces, look for somebody. And I'm not just talking if you feel like this one day. Everybody can have a bad day. Everybody can have a low day. But if you're feeling this for a longer period of time where you feel, Carrie, I don't want to feel this way, I want to feel something else, but you are not able to, that's why you need to see somebody. So.
Got it. Got it. No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. And so I think we have touched about workplace anxiety. We've spoken about unemployment. We've spoken about certain kind of mental health issues. We've spoken about sadness, depression, and how to kind of deal with it. I think, can we talk a little bit more about the environment as well? How much screen time should you be like, sure, how much of, reels should you be consuming?
So I think with regards to screen time, I think it's nowadays become very, very subjective because a lot of work happens online, right? So right now, I wouldn't consider this as screen time in terms of hobbies or, as fun if I'm doing a podcast with you right now, because I'm not doing anything to entertain myself. This is work. This is literally like, definitely my eyes are being hampered, but it's not a relaxing entertainment screen time. Likewise, for a lot of people, they work 12 hours, they're on their screens. How is one person supposed to say, please only do it for an hour, But I think the entertainment bit can only restrict to an hour. For your phones, I think there are fabulous things available now, such as downtime, such as screen time, wherein you can time yourself on the apps you feel you're, using them the most. A lot of content, unnecessary content, is clutter to your mind. You're not helping it in any way. But if you're listening to a video, an informative video about your thing, or if you're upgrading yourself by learning some course, that's great. I think that sort of stuff is great. But something like reels, you can time. That's up to you. What I do at times is that I go on and off social media, so that I've always had this very strong belief that I don't want anything to overpower me. There have been times where my Instagram has gone up to 2.5 hours, and I feel all the more tired after that, and I feel that, oh my God, I'm just feeling like I need to sleep, or, I just feel like the entire energy is drained out. And that's of course my body telling me that, hey, you need to stop. Please listen to what your body is saying.
I think we all struggle with keeping our screen time to minimum and getting sucked into the social media game as it is. So I think that helps to, break it down into activities that are helping you with your development, self-development, or learning and work, versus when you are putting in time for relaxation and entertainment, and maybe cap it.
So as a mental health professional, we're taught not to be preachy. So at no point can any therapist ever tell you that, hey, only do this for so much. Because there are so many things to notice, right? There's so many factors to speak before just putting up a line that, hey, this should only be this way. It's not always white and black.
So, going a little bit back towards being specific to psychology, and what are the critical skills that you think you need to be a successful psychologist? And how do you kind of develop it for somebody who's a fresher who's wanting to enter the field, or somebody who has been in the field and is thinking of maybe leveling up, and what is that upskilling that is required?
So as I mentioned that, we cannot be preachy. At no point can we say that, hey, please do this, or this is what I feel, and I think this will be right for you. I don't think these are things that we can say. Although it's very tempting to be a priest at times, but I think it's very hard to hold on to your temptations. But that's what is a journey of a true psychologist, or of the right kind of practice. At the same time, a lot of acceptance, right? And acceptance of things can be different. We're also human at the end of it. Things also affect us at the end of it. We listen to cases which are really, really different. And there's a lot of acceptance to people, to situations, to life. A very important aspect is to dissociate, right? The person who can't dissociate is going to have a very, very, very hard time in this field. You have to dissociate once a client walks out of the room, you can't take it home. You can't take it home. That's about it, right? It can't play on your mind. So, of course, you have empathy, you don't have sympathy. You empathize with the client, also understand that this is their problem and not yours. So the differentiation of dissociation is very, very important.
I think now if we can move a little bit more towards like how do you kind of have these big goals in life or make like a 5-year plan for yourself once you figured out what you want to do, and how do you kind of actively pursue that possibility?
Right. So what I do is I would ask people in my goal setting sessions, I would ask people to make a column, make a chart of your personal self. How do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years? What are the qualities you want to inherit? What is it that you want to do? Then the second would be what are your social goals? Are you happy with the friends you have? Do you want more friends? Are you happy with the social life that you have, etc., etc.? Relationship goals. Now, in your relationship, romantic relations and family relations, or any other relations that you specifically want to talk about. Then you have your finance and career. So these are 5 aspects that I would ask everyone to jot down as to where they are today and where they want to be in the next 5 years. So there's always a column, there's always a differentiation of where you are today, where you want to be then. After you've done this, where you want to be, then there's a separate other column of, okay, what is it that you need to do to be here? How much time do you think it'll take? Now, adding a value of time is very, very important, because you're telling your mind that I need to accomplish this in 2 years or a year or 6 months or however. And when you want to achieve something, you know it. Trust me, if you want to get from A to B, you know how to get from A to B. You just need to believe in yourself and have the courage to start. And then I also add another column, what is stopping you from being who you want to be, right? You can choose to be that now also. I feel, this is my personal belief, that habits can be formed or broken within microseconds. It doesn't take 21 days or 41 days or how many ever days. If you believe in it, it'll happen. If you don't believe in it, it'll not happen.
I really liked how you kind of like, broke it down into those columns, and I could like visualize doing this exercise, breaking it down into those 5 pieces of like, how you segment your life and see like where you want to be in the 5 years. If you're happy, that's fine. If you're not, like what you can actively do about it. And I think I'm personally going to do this exercise for sure for myself. I think we are moving towards the end of the show today. And if you could suggest your favorite books, movies, podcasts, like anything that, helps you to be in the groove, and what is it that you recommend people to read, watch, in to have a more fulfilling life in that sense?
I love Sudha Murthy's books. I think they're amazing with the kind of conviction that she writes. I think she's amazing. With regards to books, there is one book which is right here, which is Games People Play. It's a heavy book. I'm going to talk to you a little about this book. That, so many times in relations, we feel that we're in a loop, right? I would do something, my partner would feel bad, then he would do something that would make me feel bad. And because I felt bad, I want to take that little revenge. And so I'm going to do something that'll make him feel bad. And this cycle keeps going on. And not just with a romantic partner, this could be with family, friends, whatever, And subconsciously, we're playing so many games, we don't even realize. One of the games which has been something that I've been talking about very, very recently, but the essence of it says that, I would gaslight, or I would tell somebody to to behave a certain way. And when they do, so I would ignite them. And when they do behave the exact same way, I'll be like, Dick, I told you, you always do this. And this makes me feel a certain way. But hey, I was the one to bring this through. So these are these subconscious games that we keep playing, and we're not even aware that we do this. Sometimes we're happy that our partner is making mistakes, is because we can counter back and we can tell them that, see, I know you do this and I told you do this, right? So it puts us in the position of authority, and sometimes we play victim. When we know that this is how it's going to play through, but we also try and act to be the victim, that Are, tum to hamesha mere sath aisa hi karte ho, when I don't deserve this. Of course, it's a very, very heavy topic, and I've put it in a nutshell, but this has been a book that I've loved since a very long time. And I feel once a year I read this book is because every new game that my mind has decided to start playing, I try and be more self-aware of it and try to break that pattern. So that's a little about me and this book.
And I think this is a great book recommendation. And I liked how you put it in perspective in terms of how sometimes we are playing these games subconsciously and not even kind of aware, being aware about it. So to reach that level of awareness is something that we should kind of strive towards. So thank you, Jaini, for joining in. It was a very insightful session. We spoke about a lot of things. There was a lot of learning in terms of how to deal with situations, whether it is at workplace, whether it is in your personal relationships, and you did help us understand all of that. So thank you for that. Thank you everyone for watching this video. Hope you have learned as much as I did, and hope it helps you to move forward in the direction that you want to, towards the purpose you want to. And here's hoping you take care of your mental health and emotional well-being by following some of the suggestions that Jaini has suggested. Remember, even if no one believes in you, it's crucial that you do believe in yourself, because self-belief is everything. And I am 100% certain that you will find your purpose. I will be back with another episode of Purpose with Pals soon. Till then, keep pushing forward and stay 100% authentic.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.